This is Rick Rule for Rule Investment Media and the Rule Classroom, sponsors of the Natural Resources Investment Symposium, held July 7 through 11 in Boca Raton, Florida, or via live stream in the comfort and convenience of your own home. Whether or not you attend live or via live stream, there's a few things you need to know about the conference. First of all, we are going to give you 50 hours of programming over 4 days, more than you can possibly absorb. The consequence of that is that the recordings of the conference will be available to you for a year after the conference is over, and you're going to need those. The lessons taught at the conference are meant to be enjoyed and used in conjunction with the free information available at the Rule Classroom, classroom.com. Note, too, that whether you attend via live or live stream, your satisfaction is guaranteed or your money is cheerfully refunded. No other investment conference in the world makes this promise. Note, too, that every exhibitor at the conference has been personally vetted by me. If public company exhibitors on the conference floor aren't owned in my accounts, they aren't welcome on our floor. No guarantee, because I own a stock, that the stock goes up, but there is a guarantee that unlike any other investment conference in the world, every single company has been vetted and is owned in our accounts. We try to introduce you to every exhibitor and every speaker before the conference, so that the time that you spend at the conference is very efficient, and so that your capital allocation decisions are made on a considered basis. To that end, I'm delighted today to interview a new friend, Tara Christie, a newcomer to the conference. She is CEO of Banyan Gold. I am a shareholder of Banyan Gold, disclosure of conflict of interest. The downturn in the Yukon gold shares that accompanied the problem at Victoria Gold gave me the opportunity to become a shareholder of Banyan Gold, an opportunity which I'm grateful for. Tara, welcome, and thank you for participating in this process.
Well, thank you for having me, and thanks for becoming a shareholder. I take that vote of confidence very seriously.
So do I. Tell us something about your history. Tell us how you developed the expertise to do what you do, and why our listeners should care about what you have to say in answer to my nosy questions.
Well, my father is a geologist, and despite his best advice to go into medicine or something else, I have this real affinity to gold. I've been in the gold business all my life. I've been collecting gold nuggets since I was 10. Most of my career has been in gold, a few other metals and a bit of copper, but it's a space that I know very, very well. And I think given this current gold price, my whole career has kind of worked towards getting me to right here where I now have this very significant deposit in a jurisdiction that I know exceptionally well, with a team that I think is perfectly positioned. So I get to call myself a real gold digger because, I spent a lot of time producing alluvial gold, and my gold, which is, I think, something that's pretty unique. I think about Banyan as if it's a private company where I care about how the dollars are spent, because I'm a big shareholder, and I think that's something that's pretty unique about me.
Well, Tara, let's go into that a little bit. You mentioned placer gold, and you mentioned jurisdiction. Tell us the jurisdiction, and tell us something about your experience in that jurisdiction.
Sure. Well, Yukon of Canada, known for the Klondike Gold Rush. I grew up through my 20s and 30s running a very large-scale alluvial gold mine there, learning about First Nations, working in the community, learning about permitting, and also doing hard rock exploration, which Banyan is, a hard rock exploration project with a big resource. So, I've got that. I had to start right from the bottom, running equipment, which not very many CEOs can say that they paid their way through university running equipment at a placer mine, running loaders, bulldozers, excavators, and then, worked my way up through management and worked for some big companies over the years, and including, I did a turn working for Newmont. So I've got a little bit of that, how a big company thinks. And that, is partly why I took on Banyan is I think I have all the skill sets and I know this jurisdiction and I know gold.
Tara, we hear this again and again and again in the 30 years I've put on the conference. We interview CEOs, and we learn that they've spent 2 decades becoming overnight successes. So,
Yeah.
welcome to the process. Tell us something now about Banyan. What is it? How big is it? How do you think it can grow? Tell us why our investors should be interested in Banyan and why they should reach out to you before the conference.
Well, Banyan has 7 million ounces, which is really, really rare globally. That's a large deposit. We're the fifth largest undeveloped project in North America. And I think we've got a view to grow that very significantly, and also to add grade to it. That's something that's really unique, to have such a large project in a jurisdiction which you can permit mines, where we have roads and existing hydro power lines right across the deposit. That's a pretty unique situation, particularly in this gold price environment where we've seen majors who haven't replaced their reserves and resources. It's kind of like there's a present sitting down the road, waiting for to be developed. And there's not a lot of projects that are teed up and ready to go in this type of in gold environment.
Tara, picture an attendee at my conference who's from northern Mississippi, and he looks at the Yukon on a map, and he says, "This is in Santa Claus's side yard. I mean, how are you going to build a mine north of North Hellengon?" Tell us something about the infrastructure in the immediate vicinity of your deposit and how those concerns are misplaced.
That's a common misperception we have to deal with. And you look at our property, and we have a highway that goes right across the property. So we've already got year-round maintained roads. We have those power lines, which were just rebuilt, brand new, with double the capacity to their energized to. They were built in 2021, and they serve two mines right beside us that have operated year-round. So this is a year-round mining operation. When you have existing infrastructure where we are, we know you can operate year round. So that's not, we even have 4 bars on the cell phone. You can come and stand right on our deposit and do your email and take a few phone calls, and there's fiber optic cable. So there are many places in Canada's north and Alaska that are remote. Ours is not. We have roads and power, and that's so important both for your capital and your operating costs and your operating season. And you only need to look over to Alaska, to Fort Knox, to see how successful that's been. Can you imagine if they were starting that project in this gold environment? And we're the same style of intrusion-related mineralization as them.
Well, that's a good segue to the deposit. 7 million ounces is a number that you bat around. How well has this been studied? How much is known about the preliminary economics? What level of documentation do you have? And what level of documentation do you expect within the next sort of 12 to 18 months?
Excellent question. So, and there's what you should ask any junior. So we have what's called an inferred resource, which is 43101, which is a standard. But in the inferred level is kind of the lowest level to have a resource. We drilled 21,000 meters last year, focused on converting around 2 million of those ounces to indicated, which is the next level up. And we'll give people more confidence in our resource. And we're going to put that new resource out here in Q2 with some indicated ounces, which will give people more confidence in our geological model and that this gold is there. So those are really important questions to answer. So that's Q2. Meanwhile, it's time for us to put out some maiden economics, and we've working hard towards getting our PEA together. We've selected some consultants, which will be announced soon, and we'll have a PEA by fourth quarter this year. So that's another level of confidence, which will give people an understanding of how economic this project might be.
Tara, from a selfish point of view, will that resource statement be out in time for the Natural Resources Investment Symposium, or am I being too aggressive?
Well, the resource that's in Q3. So Q2, yes,
Great.
that's the plan.
Great. So this is in a sense a really good setup. People will have the ability to understand a bit about the size of the prize at the conference, and then people will be able, if they care, to be involved in the company before the company's economics are well known to the broader market. Is that an accurate assessment?
That is an accurate assessment. People have the opportunity now to call me. I take calls from shareholders. Call me on our line, or send me an email to set up a time that works. Christie@banyangold.com. This is a really important time for people to understand what we have. So the next phase, this resource update, will give people more confidence in the geological model. And also, I think, showing people the scale of this deposit. It's open. I can arm wave and say that I think this could be much, much larger than what we've drilled off. And have we drilled the best yet? No. We had some super exciting holes that we drilled at the end of last season, and we just put out 16 meters of 9 grams, which is really high grade at only 65 meters depth. We started drilling yesterday. We are going to have 2 drills going by today and 3 drills for next week. So, we're going to have a really exciting catalyst filled year. Our resource update showing that we've got a really good catalyst or a really good geological model, followed by drilling to show that why there's a whole lot more here, some maiden economics, and then drill results into 2026, showing that this deposit's quite a bit larger than even what we've drilled off. So pretty exciting catalysts ahead.
So Tara, it seems like we have 3 stories that people could understand in terms of adding value. First of all is the current size of the prize, 7 million ounces. The second, you mentioned that you are in the process of delineation drilling so that you can upgrade some of the deposit, increase the grade in the deposit and get a starter pit. And then the third thing that you said, if I understood you correctly, is that you believe from 7 million ounces that the deposit can grow. Is that accurate?
That's very accurate.
And then, as we've already discussed, in addition to the fact that we can develop a high-grade starter pit, in addition to the fact that there's a fair bit of leverage now with 7 million ounces and the deposit can grow, what we do through the process of the preliminary economic assessment, progressing ultimately to pre-feasibility and feasibility, is we upgrade our knowledge around the economics of the deposit. How far out do you believe that, first of all, the preliminary economic assessment is?
We're scheduling for Q4. So hopefully we have it a little bit before that, but that's what the current schedule is.
Or arguably at least calendar year 2025.
Calendar year 2025.
Excellent. Tara, what's the market capitalization of Banyan Gold, and how much cash do you have to fulfill the work commitments that you have for this year and next?
Well, we're currently sitting at 80 million Canadian, which is pretty low market cap, with 24 million Canadian in cash in the bank. So pretty strong treasury. We just did a financing above market with no warrants with a very strategic investor, which I think will put us in really good stead for this year. That's about a $5 an ounce in enterprise value, maybe even a little bit less with all that cash in the bank. So our leverage to the price of gold is pretty significant.
For US dollar denominated investors, understand that the numbers that Tara just gave you were Canadian dollars, 5 Canadian dollars per ounce in the ground, which is, in fact, from my own point of view, an interesting statistic. Tara, what is your symbol and where do you trade?
We trade on the TSX Venture, BYN, and the OTCQB, BYAGF.
And finally, to the extent that our live and or live stream attendees want to get in touch with you to learn more about Banyan, or want to make an appointment to visit with you live or via live stream at the conference, who in particular do they contact and how do they reach that person?
Well, they contact me. I like to be directly connected with my shareholders because that's what I expect from companies that I invest in, is that I can talk to the CEO. So Christie at Banyan Gold's my email. You can reach me through the general email on the website if you want, or through the phone system. I'm really looking forward to the one-on-one system, so I hope people reach out and set up some meetings. I see there's lots of great attendees there, and if you're not brave enough to reach out directly, there's lots of stuff online. But sometimes it's just faster to get comfort by calling the CEO and see and ask them how much skin they have in the game. So I'm a 4% shareholder, which I've bought in the market. I participated in that last financing above market. Shows you I've got real skin in the game as well as confidence in where we're going.
Tara, I'm not a nasty old man, but what's that phone number? The number you mentioned that people should call you. Where should they call you? The person that you should contact concerning a company like this is the CEO. Too many of you believe that the CEO is too busy, too preoccupied with other things. The CEO who is preoccupied with other things is a CEO that doesn't care about their cost of capital. the fact that you can't talk to them means that you shouldn't own them. In this particular case, you got the right answer. Tara, what's the number?
888-629-0444.
Tara, thank you for a lifetime of effort on behalf of mining investors, and thank you, too, for your support of the Natural Resources Investment Symposium. I look forward to hosting you in Boca Raton.
Thank you, Rick. I look forward to coming there and meeting a whole bunch of new potential shareholders and my existing shareholders. So thanks for inviting me.